Where is it? Hello, good evening. Welcome to this week's edition of Sisters the Legacy. I am Samantha, your one of your hosts. We're gonna run our intro and we'll be right back.
Welcome to the Sisters of Legacy. They are building a community through great conversation. They are speaking truth. They are speaking life. It's time to do more. Join us each week. Welcome to the Sisters of Legacy.
All right, people, we are back. Again, welcome to this week's edition of Sisters of Legacy. I am Samantha Walker. To my right, left, wherever she's at, is Shanetta McNair. And directly below us is Vanessa Fields.
Like the Brady Bunch, they be in the box.
Oh, okay, guys, and we are here this week, and we are going to talk about accountability. Now, I'm sure this is one of those words that means something different for everyone. And I guess to be honest, that's probably like most words, because most words everybody has their own definition for. But we're going to talk about accountability. And for me, this was a thing because I see so much, um, of course, on the great evil social media. Uh, but just in general, people say so much and people do so much. And lately, I've just been wondering, like, even if everything is true, like, what's your motive? Like, is there nobody that says that's not necessary? Um, is that beneficial? Like, is there no checks and balances in your life? There's no one that you're accountable to that you can just say or do whatever you want whenever you want. I feel like if that is the case for anyone, then that is a dangerous position to be in, where you're not accountable to anyone. So I wanted to talk about it. I wanted to see, am I the lone black unicorn that thinks, that everybody should be accountable to somebody? Um, and what better place to talk about it than with you ladies? Of course, we are minus one tonight. Katrina Taylor is not with us tonight, but prayerfully she'll be back on the next show. So ladies, jump in. Let me know how you feel. What do you think of accountability? What does that mean to you?
For me, I think accountability looks different in different areas of your life, of course.
Mhm.
But I definitely feel like that there's no space where you don't have a responsibility to kind of like have a checks and balances system.
Okay.
Even when you're operating in, I think, like a world of independence that we kind of like constantly talk about. Everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. Everybody wants to, be the independent woman or the independent, whomever. Like everybody wants all these things of finding that independence. But I think what you find is even when you have that sense of self, that sense of I can do this by myself, it's still never really truly accomplished without you being accountable to someone, something, some entity of some form. So I feel like it definitely is it looks different in different aspects of our lives, but we have to kind of like, examine what that looks like in each area and who you should be
Okay.
accountable to.
I'm sorry. I just want to say somewhere I did something very wrong because online it says the Brothers of Legacy is live now. And we are definitely not the brothers. I don't know what happened.
It does
But
say that. And I didn't even look at that when I hit share. I just saw our faces and hit share.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking maybe uh, maybe something happened when he created the link because I don't
You could
know.
just share it to our page, share it to the Sisters of Legacy page.
Yeah.
Maybe. And maybe we'll get a different audience because different people watch him too.
I know. I just put it's the ladies takeover. Let's see what happens.
Period. Let them take over. Let them take over our hours. That might be fun. Switch it up a little bit.
I don't know. They do have some interesting participants in their show. But yes. Okay, I'm sorry. I know I totally got sidetracked because I could not believe what I was looking at. Okay, so Vanessa, what does that mean? I'm here watching Sam. Hi. I don't know who you are, but hi. Erica Kinsey. Well, welcome. Go ahead, Vanessa. What does that mean to you, accountability?
I don't know. For me, when I think about accountability, I really just think about a standard, about just I could hear my dad saying like, "Have some couth about yourself," like to just have a certain amount of pride and decency about the way that you do. I can't see nobody. Oh, that's
I'm
like that.
sorry. Now I know. Hi, Erica. I'm sorry. It took me a minute. You're right. If I'd have saw the last name, I'd have known who he was. Okay.
So for me, accountability, at this stage in my life, honestly, it just seems like it's just oozing out of me. Like I really can't just let things and people um, slide. And I kind of hold myself to a particular standard to be able to reflect that. And if they don't do the the proper things or handle things a certain way, when I'm around or when we're in conversation, I can see, the adjustments and the changes just because of the things that I say or they expect from me, or what level or caliber that they hold me in regard to. So for me, accountability at this age, honestly, is really just not letting things slide too much and just telling it how it is. So, I don't really do too much with like the sugar coating of things. I do attempt to be tasteful and thoughtful when I say things. But in the same token, like, just take it from the place that it's coming from, that I want you to be great. And I'm not going to just settle for, mediocrity or just letting you continue to do whatever you do because you just been running amok this whole time. So accountability for me is just, I don't know, just, a certain level of respect and I don't know. That's all I got.
Okay. Because stuff is disappearing. I don't know if that's my husband doing something, and it probably is him. I don't know. Anyway, the internet is going to internet, so I'm just gonna let that do, and then we'll just have the conversation. So I heard you say you were talking accountability in terms of others. So is it? Oh yes, husband, you're bad. I love you anyway, though. So is it your responsibility to make other people accountable?
Um, to a certain degree for me, and it's really just because like for the most part, the people that are in my circle or the people that I'm around, they know me. They know, what I'm gonna go for, what I'm not gonna go for. And again, if I want you to be great or be the best version of you, I can't do that if I continue to let you do whatever you're doing. Maybe you're not aware. You know what I'm saying? Like for me at this stage, I think a lot of times I feel if we had certain conversations with people, regardless of if they change, if you have those conversations and you tell people, or set the record straight or what have you, then the tone is set. So whatever you do with that information is totally on you. I don't want anything to be left on my hands, or me feel like I had the opportunity to forge something great or help somebody change something about themselves, and just let them continue. Like, people be like, oh, that's just how they are. That's okay, but you're not going to be that way with me. And that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm telling you whatever. But again, if you always behave this way and people just let you do whatever you want, or say whatever you want, or behave however you normally do, then there's no standard set, there's no accountability. They just chuck it up to your normal behavior. And that's not okay, because that's not, that's just not. And so, certain people will stop doing certain things, or, their content will change, or they behave different, even like with your kids. You know what I'm saying? When they're on the phone with their friends, that may not be the same child that you get when you having a conversation with them, or you're hanging out with them, because there's a standard that has been set, and they know, what I'm saying, what the right thing to do is, or, how to conduct themselves in whatever that situation may be. So I definitely do feel somewhat of a burden. And Lord Jesus, sometimes it's a curse. And I be asking God, like, for real? This what we doing? But I just do feel like I can't just, if I see you doing something, I feel like it's hurting your, your character, your personality, what you could be, what you could be doing. Like, I don't know. I just can't just let you continue to cut the monkey and act the fool.
Okay. So let me ask a question, because you are currently not married, and Shanetta, you are currently very married. So um in terms of accountability, does that look different based on your current positions or relationship status? Do you feel like it's different
Absolutely.
for you, Vanessa, as opposed to Shanetta? And Shanetta, do you feel like your level of accountability is different from Vanessa's?
I think you think of, like, I heard this speaker say, we wear a lot of different hats. And so who I may be as a mom is not necessarily the same role that I play as a facility administrator at my job. So who you may get at work, for the most part, honestly, like I said, at this stage, you're gonna get mostly what you're gonna get. But I think some of that is based on the role that you're operating in at that time. You know what I'm saying? So mom is going to do certain things differently than, if I'm out with my friends. What I do with them may not be the same level, or, accountability that's held that I may expect my kids to hold themselves to. You know what I'm saying? So I think some of it is truly going to be different based on that role. Like, I don't have nobody to answer to. If I want to stay out all night, I have the opportunity to do that. If I'm in a relationship, if I'm married, I have that same opportunity. But as respect for my husband and the sanctity of our marriage, that's not going to be how I'm moving. You know what I'm saying? So me staying out all night, or, last minute, hey, I'm finna do this, I'm going away for the week with the girls. Yeah, no, that's not okay. That's not how because that's not, what I would expect in that situation. So it definitely, a lot of it, I think personally, has a lot to do with the particular role that you're operating in at that time, to kind of dictate the level of accountability, not necessarily the standard, but definitely a different level of accountability.
I
Okay.
would
Shanetta,
agree.
okay.
I would agree with everything that Vanessa just said, is that the level of accountability changes. I think within a relationship based on the status of that relationship. I can remember, and this is kind of a role reversal, but I know he wouldn't mind me telling the story. I can remember when way back in the 1900s, uh, back when McNair and I got married. Before we got married, he was traveling as a musician. So he would go with different preachers. He would be like all over the place. So like today he might be in Atlanta playing for some church service, and tomorrow he might be, you know, on his way to Texas or on his way to Florida or anywhere. He would just be like shaking and moving, like going different places. And we had just gotten married. We trying to, you know, build this life together. And he was like, oh yeah, you know, so and so needs me to come to, you know, this place. And I was like, okay, you know. And then it was like, oh, so and so needs me to go to this place, so I'm gonna go over there. Okay. And then after a while I was like, hold up, you can't keep moving like you single. And the way you moving is like you're still this single guy who can just hop on the road and go wherever he want to go. And hello, I'm right here. Like, I know that, you know, I can keep myself entertained, have been before I married you. However, sir, so I'm gonna need you to slow that down just a little bit and, like, you know, be here and be a part of this, because this is not how this looks for me. And he understood immediately. Like, it was not like an argument or a big blow up or nothing. He understood immediately that his accountability, now that we were married, was different. And while there may be plenty of wives that are like, bye, get out of here, I don't care where you go, I'm not that wife. So the level of accountability is different, and I show him the same respect. So I'm a homebody, so it's a little different for me. I'm not trying to be like out in the streets and, like, you know, running around. I will sit at home all the time and be totally okay with that. But nonetheless, like, we still have that open communication where there's a level of respect that you have, where you're not going to be going, like, I'm not going to just be like, oh yeah. Like last week we talked about the place out of state where we can go learn how to swim and stay, you know, like, I'm not going to just plan all of that with you guys and be like, oh, me and the girls, we getting ready to go and we going off to Arizona and we going to hang out for a week, and not even say, hey, do you mind? Because that's a level of accountability that, you know, I have amongst, you know, the two of us and in our relationship. So I do think that it does look different, because I can remember, you know, being single and being like, I can get up and go, you know, come and go as I please.
Right.
I remember I got up with some friends and we went to Virginia. Like, I didn't tell nobody. Like, literally, I had a boyfriend at the time who was like, where you at? What you doing? First of all, sir, calm that down. I don't have to tell you nothing because we're not married. So, like, have a nice day. I'll see you when I get back, because I'm not at home. So I'm not at home. But I think that changes when you are in a relationship, even as the relationship grows, because, like, you might be, like, technically single and not married, but as the relationship starts to get serious, you decide, okay, I need to say a little bit more. And then after the marriage, okay, I got to say a whole lot more, you know, like, there are levels to it. So I do think that it's important to know who you have to be accountable to in each setting, because it does look different in different settings. So yes, the marriage and being single, I think that looks different versus the being accountable to your boss, or holding people to, you know, to what they're supposed to be accountable to you as their supervisor, or whatever the case may be. As a teacher, I hold the kids accountable for doing their work. Like, I'm not going to do it for you. I can't work harder for your grade than you are. You have to work for this. So I have to hold you accountable. As a parent, we hold our kids accountable for making the grades, for cleaning their rooms, for whatever it is we're trying to teach them along the way. We have to hold them accountable or responsible for doing the things. Because if people are running around here not accountable to anybody, doing their own thing, I think we grow a community, a nation, or whatever you want to call it, of people who don't do anything, people who don't achieve anything, because nobody's being held accountable for anything that we're supposed to be doing. So we're just letting people run amok. We're just letting people do whatever they want to do. We're just letting people just be out here all willy-nilly doing whatever, and you can't do that. Like, you have to be responsible for the things, because if you're not responsible for the things, then the things don't get done. So accountability.
Do you think that there should be a level of accountability amongst women? Like, like I said, okay, so you're married, I'm married, Vanessa's not married currently. But we're all women.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so should there be a level of accountability, between women that's different? Or is it just, girl, hey, do you whatever you want to do, let it all hang out, drop it, pick it up, flip it, throw it, whatever. Should that be the motto, or should we, one woman to another be like, hey girl,
I
mm,
think to an extent,
okay,
like, you want to let the women around you be free to be who they are and to enjoy their own sense of self and their own personality. But I do think that there should be a check-in. Like, if you're truly friends with someone, I do feel like there should be some check-ins to see, like, okay, that's a little bit out of the ordinary. What's going on? Like, why would you, why are you out here, like, Vanessa can't come on here and be like, every week we talking and she's like, girl, let me tell you, I got a man for Monday, I got a man for Tuesday. I'm after a while, I'll be like, Vanessa, you good? You all right? Because, like, what's going on over there? What are we doing? You couldn't come on here, Sam, and tell me every other day that, like, you literally, like, knocking Anthony around the house. Because after a while, I'm be like, hey, like, I get that he made you mad at one time, and, like, you just had to give him a good, 2-piece real quick. Are you abusing that man over there? Like, I'm gonna ask questions, and I'm gonna, because I feel like, yes. And if y'all see me doing something strange and out of the ordinary, I would expect
poor
that at a
Mike,
certain point
poor
that
Mike,
you would be like, hey, you're gonna have to calm that down because you're stressing that man out. Like,
poor Mike.
what are you doing?
Okay.
So yes, I think we should, like, hold each other accountable.
And how do you do that? I mean, I heard you say, like, okay, you know us. So what if it's somebody, I don't know, that you don't know? So is it just, somebody that you know and that you're comfortable with? Or, like, how does it work in the real world? Like, when you go outside, how does it work? Or is it just like, oh, and, you keep
I
doing
think
what
it
you're doing?
depends on the situation. It just depends on the situation, because sometimes it is like, all right, let me go on over here and get in my car and go to my house and mind my own business.
Okay.
Yep.
And then other times it's like, she look like she crying out. Like, maybe I can, be of help to this person. Maybe I'm meant to be here in this moment to stop and see what I can do to help this person. But I think sometimes we are definitely called to mind our own business and to get in our cars and
Ooh,
go
yes.
houses.
I definitely agree. But for me, like, I've been places and seen things, and I just felt that I needed to, intervene, say something, say a kind word. Like, I seen this lady the other day, and, like, her outfit was like, I was like, oh my God, okay, miss, you look good. And she was like, oh, thank you, girl. Like, just, for me, if I can take an opportunity to help change somebody's mood, I've been places and be like, oh my God, you're okay, smile. You're beautiful. People be looking at me weird, and I just walk off and just go on about my business. But, I just feel if there are avenues where you can, free of harm, to assist in whatever way you see possible. I've been in a grocery store and watched this lady in front of me, young chick, maybe in her 30s, late 20s or whatever. And she was like picking through her groceries, and she was like, okay, I'm gonna have to put this back. I'm gonna put that back. I'm gonna put this back. And I'm gonna put that back. And I'm standing on the line behind. I'm like, oh my God, I'm ready to get out of here. Now she finna do all this back and forth. Okay, well, how much? How much now, ma'am? Uh, Swipe your card for whatever you got, and I'm gonna get the rest. Like, and in that moment for me, it was not. I think it probably was more about me feeling blessed and thanking God for everything that I have to be in the position to help somebody who I knew needed it. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? I ain't asked no questions. I ain't, hey, what, you homeless, none of that. It was just like, okay, I seen this opportunity to be a blessing to someone else because it just, like that's embarrassing. I've been there too where I'm like, yo, you know what? I don't need all this. Let me know when I get to about $72 because I got
Right.
75. At that point,
Right.
something else, you know what I'm saying? Some of this stuff gotta go back because I didn't match up the coins. And so for me, like, if I have an opportunity to do something and I can intervene on someone else's behalf, whether I know them or not, I'm definitely going to extend myself in that opportunity. But I think today, like we into more of the, black girl magic and the power of this and that kind of thing, where I think we're more open to assisting each other and being more of a help to one another as opposed to just, trying to just do you and not worry about what other people are doing or even afford the opportunity for someone else to be able to just share, have a place. Like we all honestly, at some point or another, we've all gone through the same thing. And I don't think you should struggle by yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like you need a safe space. You need at least one woman, one friend, somebody who you can unload your burdens on and feel safe with what you've shared in a non-judgment free zone where you don't have to worry about what you said, being shared with the world, or they're looking down on you like, girl, that's a whole lot. You don't even need to. You should, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's not always for us to speak on what they share, but just create the platform and the safety net for us to be able to just be. And I don't think for years, I don't think that's something that we really encouraged because we're so catty and so petty and bitter and whatever else may be the reasons why we haven't been able to do that with one another.
So, is there a difference between accountability and judgment?
Yes. I think that it's I think one of the things is connotation. But when you are holding someone accountable, I don't think it's judgment. It's seeing a need and responding to what's necessary in the moment. Whereas judgment is kind of like a tone of, I think, looking down upon someone because of how they're behaving. Judgment doesn't come with that constructive criticism, or judgment doesn't come with that helpful hand of what can I do to help you. Like, judgment is more like, ew, you're poor, you don't have the money to buy the groceries that you picked up in this store. Like, that's judgment versus what Vanessa said of how much do you pay for what you have, and I'm gonna help you with what you need, because apparently you're in a place of need right now. So I'm responding to the need that I see when I'm holding you accountable, versus when I'm judging you, I'm looking at the need that you have, but I'm not even trying to help you. I'm just down talking you, and pretty much kicking you while you're down when I'm being judgmental. And that's to me, that's how judgment comes off. I think that a lot of times we do confuse though, someone trying to be helpful and tell us, hey, maybe you should, maybe not be so loud when you in public. Maybe tone that down a little bit. I think a lot of people, when they're looking to be offended, they will
Right.
take constructive criticism as judgment, but you're looking to be offended. And that's
Right.
when the ministry of knowing how to mind your own business comes into place, because like, they looking to be offended. I don't even need to deal with them. Let them go on and finish, looking crazy out here by themselves and move on, because you're looking for somebody to start something with you. So I think it's all in like just knowing when, where, and how, especially with people that you don't know, where to kind of jump in and offer, and even being able to read a room and understand very quickly when you try to be helpful and someone comes back at you in a negative way. You have to kind of know how to say, I was just trying to be helpful, but you have a blessed day, and kind of, shifting and moving away from that when you know that it's not going to be received well. But I think that we live in a time in which people often mistake someone trying to help them to someone judging them. One example that I would think of is that there's a huge debate about bonnets, no bonnets, when we go out into public spaces. And there's a group of us that would say we have no business wearing bonnets out in public, right? And then there's another group of us that will say, let them live. If they want to wear their bonnet out because they don't want to mess up their hair, let them wear their bonnets out. So whichever side you fall on, that argument becomes really big from time to time. Now, I'll tell you up front, I am the no bonnet person. Even if I'm like about to take a long flight, I feel like I am outside of my house, I shall not wear that bonnet. Versus my daughter who will keep that bonnet on her head, and as much as her mom is telling her to take it off because it looks horrible and that she should not be out. If we're going on a road trip, she won't do it just regular going out and about. But if we're going on a road trip, she's going to absolutely get in the backseat of my car with that bonnet on her head. Meanwhile, I'm looking at her like, I am appalled because we are about to get out at QT and go into this gas station and you got a bonnet on. And she looking at me like, Mom, seriously? So for her, that's like, it's not even that serious. But for me, that's me holding her accountable to, there's a standard for the way a lady should look when she's exiting her home. And I feel like we're going out into the world and we represent. So that's me holding her accountable. That's me explaining to her and teaching her that this is how a lady presents herself, right? Whereas somebody else may feel like I'm just being judgy and I'm just judging her and she's just comfortable and keeping her hair intact. And so I think that it's a fine line sometimes between that accountability and judgment based on how someone perceives what you're saying and how you present it.
Okay. And it's the time too. Like, I think a lot of stuff, like growing up, you wasn't going outside with no, and we had headscarves back in the day. We didn't have bonnets. So you was not about to go outside with no headscarf on. Your pajamas? Yeah, nah, you're not going to the grocery. You're not, buying pajamas to be able to wear them outside. You're not doing none of that. You know what I'm saying? So I think a lot of that has gotten lost in translation with these later years and what's acceptable and what's okay. Like, even with my kids, like back in the day, they wouldn't wear sweatpants to school unless it was gym day. Now they want their whole wardrobe to be sweatpants, Crocs, like it's just a different, it's just a different time and you can change with the time more. Yeah. I definitely think that some of that, has to do with what you embracing as well.
And so do you like, okay, so with accountability and holding other people accountable, do you find yourself trying to hold people accountable to the same standard you hold yourself, or or do you like, do you find yourself trying to hold people to the same level or standard that you hold yourself to?
I've stopped doing that. I can't make anybody do what I would do or carry themselves the way that I would carry myself. So for me to try to get you to be up here because I'm up here, in my head, is pointless to some degree, because you're just not going to do what I do because you're not me. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? I can't expect me from anybody else. But there's going to be a certain amount of things that you just, I can't say you're just not going to do. You know what I'm saying? But there's going to be something that I'm going to expect from you more than, you know, nothing at all. You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of times I think that may be part of where some of that judgmental plays a role as well, when you trying to get somebody to, you know, be like you and not even realizing that that's what you're doing, trying to hold them to, you know, the same level that you hold them to. I think that also goes with the role and what we're, you know, what we're discussing. Like for me at work, at one point I was working with everybody side by side. Now I'm in a different level, you know, of teammate with them. Now I'm in a leadership position. So certain things that were common before aren't gonna be the same now. Like one of my nurses, she said to, she was like, "Oh, I can't say that to you no more because you're my manager now. Like, you know, you're my boss now. So we have to, you know, do those roles accordingly." So I think there's definitely to keep people human and to realize that none of us are perfect, that, you know, a standard is definitely good, but they're not you. So can't expect you from anybody else.
Shanetta?
I would agree with that, is that you can't always hold people to the same standard that you hold yourself to. Um that's something that I think I've definitely like observed and learned throughout time, is that everybody doesn't have the same experiences and the same reasons that they move the way they move as you do. I move a certain type of way and do things a certain type of way because of my background, because of my experiences. So like I don't operate in certain with certain behaviors because of my background, because of my experience and what I've been through. Everybody has not experienced the same things. So I
Right.
think that when you are attempting to hold someone accountable, you kind of have to like, it's kind of like a gradual thing. So maybe you know, show them, you know, just a little bit of how they can improve something here, and then later you come back and you build upon it and say, okay, let's, you know, let's talk about this. And then we come back, okay, now let's talk about this. Okay, now you got that. Okay, good, you're doing good. Come on, come up here. And you kind of keep, you know, you just have to build them up, and then maybe they do come up to the same standard of where you are in that area. Maybe they don't, but at least you've gotten them to kind of the place where they're doing things in a better way. I think ultimately when you're working to help someone and to hold them accountable, and when someone's working to help you and to hold you accountable, ultimately it's about being better. It's about doing better. It's about improving it's about growth from where you are here to, you know, getting to a new level, a new place, a new achievement, a new accomplishment. Um, so we kind of gradually do it. I can't expect a student that has, and I refer back to my students a lot, but I can't expect a student that has been failing everything all the time to overnight become a straight A honor roll student. That's not realistic. I have
Right.
to build them up to that place to where I can say, okay, look at you. Like we just passed. Like we literally went from failing to a passing grade. I'm so proud of you. Here's what we're going to do next. And we continue to build upon it until we get to a place where we're at a successful level, and we can now say, okay, we have reached a nice goal. I like this. Now, do we want to go higher? Yeah, we want to go higher. Let's talk about it. How do we get there? So we can't expect ourselves when because I mean, we may not be perfect in an area, but we might be pretty good at it. So we can't expect someone who's not performing on the same level as us to automatically, as soon as I tell you one little thing about how you act and behaving and moving, for them automatically to be, you know, okay, here I am. I'm doing fabulous now. I'm, meeting your level of, greatness at this point. We can't expect that. So you have to kind of teach and show. And I think that when you're trying to hold someone accountable, there comes a responsibility of teaching. There comes a responsibility of modeling. There comes a responsibility of showing what would be expected in this area, and communication. And for them to even tell you, because like we may be trying to hold somebody accountable for something, and their experience may be why they don't do certain things. They may, well, I used to do that, but I don't do that anymore because of A, B, C, and D. Oh, I didn't know that. I've never experienced what you experienced. So now I understand why you don't do this or why you do behave in this way. So it kind of helps you, like that can kind of help you to kind of see and even have more grace when someone needs to kind of like be responsible for how they're moving or behaving.
And I think if internalizing what's happening in this process will encourage you to want to do better or to see, you know, the point to where this should go. You know what I'm saying? Like once you start talking about, you so much better than that. Like I won't say, okay, I don't know why you're doing that, but you're so much better than, how you are allowing this to play out or what have you. And sometimes when you can reach someone from the perspective of showing them where you're coming from and what you're saying, and they can begin to internalize it, that's going to increase their level of accountability or them even being able to strive and say, you know what, I can do better. I can do more. I can expect more from me. And to even get their own wheels turning about those things that you're actually talking about so that they can, like, I had a coworker a long time ago, like the things that she used to say to me, like after I would leave work and I'd be in certain situations, I could hear her voice telling me, you already know you shouldn't, or whatever the case was. And so I began to do things different, and I don't even think she realized from those conversations how I began to hold myself accountable and change some of the things that I said or I did to her standards, not even realizing that that's what was happening. So I think, your approach is definitely going to be important. And I like how you were saying, Shanetta, about building on it. Like you can't expect, anybody who was at this area, whatever it may be, to overnight be the best. You know what I'm saying? You give that margin of error and you allow people to grow and do it in a pace that's realistic. That's dope. I like that.
Okay. So I think I will say for me, um, honestly, I have been focusing more on just holding myself accountable and letting people do kind of what they're going to do. Um, I hold myself to a standard and I try to perform at that level in every area. My hope is that the people that I interact with, the people that I come in contact with, that they will um kind of recognize that maybe this isn't the best thing, and adjust accordingly. I do believe that um, we should have some level of accountability to one another. Vanessa, like you said, you saw the lady and you could see that she needed help. She needed something in that moment. And, have the wherewithal to say, okay, I'm going to do this. Like you don't have to ask me, you're not looking for it, but I'm going to do this because it's something that needs to be done. Like, that level of accountability that, God, you've given me enough that I can give somebody else. Or even just like you say, I've been in that position. And at the time, maybe nobody was around or cared to help you. And you just, put your stuff down and went on about your business. Um, So, I feel like it takes a lot of self-awareness, you know what I'm saying? Like to be able to make those kind of decisions and those kind of choices. And I wish, I wish that that was something that, you could sprinkle or give to people or send in a text and they just open it and, like then they're just magically self-aware. And I think, honestly, if people took a little bit more time, like 5 to 10 seconds, and just thought about what they're gonna do before they do it, what they're gonna say before they say it. Do you see that?
Yeah, I
Mhm.
saw the thumb.
I thought I was, I thought there was something wrong. I told you this internet is really wigging out tonight. Um, I wish that people took that extra time to really think about the things that they're doing and saying before they do it and say it. Like I know you saw the video with the guy that jumped over the judge's bench. Did I see it? He went
Yeah.
flying on top of the poor little old judge and was, beating on her, throwing punches, kicks, whatever he was doing, biting, scratching, whatever. Now, this particular gentleman, from what I read, and I could be wrong, so don't get your panties in a bunch, he was originally going to be sentenced to 24 months, which is about 2 years. Yes, jail is awful. You
Give
go in
or
there, you do what you need to do. You probably could have got out in like a year, 18 months.
take.
Now, the same gentleman, because he wanted to practice wrestling, is now looking at 60 years for, I mean, they like he has 13 additional charges, like attempted murder, on somebody over 60. I mean, it's all this stuff. And I just feel like if he would have taken 5 to 10 seconds and just thought about his actions before he did it,
Mm-hmm.
he could have saved himself a world of trouble. I mean, I know that's a that's a big example, but
Yeah.
it really is that simple. Sometimes if we just held ourselves accountable, like fine, I get it. Nobody wants to go to jail. How did we get here? You know what I'm saying? Like taking that moment to think about how we got here, taking a moment to think about even if what I have to say is true, is it necessary? And like that has been like a thing for me like forever because I feel like I need to say it. Like, and I've gotten better because I realized like what's my goal? I've learned how to be self-aware, how to hold myself accountable. Like, yes, it was the truth, but was it a necessary truth? Was it a truth that needed to be told at that time in that way to those people? Like I wish as a society, and I'm just gonna say, as people of color, let's just start with the people that look like me. If we could just take that extra 5 to 10 seconds and hold ourselves accountable for the things that come out of our mouths, for the actions that we take or don't take. I feel like as a community, we would be way better off. Yes, we know that we already have a whole host of obstacles. We already have all these things that's against us. But then we add a whole nother list of obstacles on our own because we don't hold ourselves accountable enough. So that is my hope for, I mean, yes, people of color first, but for everybody, like all of us as a country, as a civilization, if we held ourselves accountable. And that means from the highest person, the people up in the White House, the Congress, the Senate, like all the way down. If we all held ourselves accountable, if we thought about what we were doing, filtered some of our actions, and that includes the church too, all
Mm-hmm.
the craziness, hold yourself accountable. You don't need to defend, hold yourself accountable, hold yourself to a standard. That is my hope for 2024. That somewhere, because right now, 2024, I put on Facebook earlier, it came in like you gonna eat your cornbread. It came in tough. Like, it's not holding no punches, it's not slowing down. It came in like a bully, and we have to do more internally for ourselves. If everybody was holding themselves accountable, life would look different. Life would look different as we interact with each other. So that is my hope. That is that somewhere, we'll take that extra time. Let's be accountable. Everybody, we have a responsibility to someone, regardless if you want to acknowledge that. We have to. You have to be accountable to someone. You
Mm.
have to. It just makes for a better society, a better community, even in your household. It just makes for a better household ran if everybody's accountable to each other in one way or another. So that is my hope that this is one of our many accountability conversations for this year. I'm sure we're going to talk about it several times because it's just a lot of running amok, just everywhere. And no one person has all the answers. No one person, does anything perfect or knows all the rules. But if you set a standard for yourself, then you don't have to worry about the other person and what you think, they're trying to hold you to. Set a standard. Let's be better. Let's let that be our goal, to be our best selves, to be the best version of who we are. Again, we are on every Thursday at 8 p.m. Tonight we are -1. Typically we are four. So tonight we're the three musketeers. And we will see you next week, God willing, on Thursday at 8 p.m. So until then, stay safe.